Good morning, guys. Welcome back. In the previous session, we started our discussion related to Docker file. Docker file contains set of instructions to build the Docker image. When you want to Dockerize any application, we need to write some instructions in the Docker file, like what softwares that we need, what operations that we need to perform to build the Docker image. So in the Docker file, we are using some domain specific keywords. Those are called as DSL keywords. This Docker file will be processed by Docker engine from top to bottom. What are the instructions we are writing? Those instructions will be processed by Docker engine from top to bottom, right? So what are the keywords that are there in the Docker file? So these are the keywords that are available in the Docker file. From keyword, maintainer keyword, copy, add, run, CMD, entry point, env, label, workdir, expose, volume. Like that, there are several keywords are available. Using those keywords, we are going to write the Docker file. So we have seen from keyword, it represents the base image to create our images. So which base image you want? Do you want Ubuntu as a base image? Do you want Tomcat as a base image? Do you want MySQL as a base image? Right? Do you want Python as a base image? Which base image we need for our image, that we will specify by using from keyword. Maintainer represents author of the Docker file. Copy, to copy the files from source to destination while creating the Docker image. When we are creating the Docker image, to copy the files from source to destination, right? From one path to another path, we can use this copy, right? Simple example, the project that we have, war file or jar file, I want to copy that jar file or war file to Tomcat server folder. So for that, when the image is getting created, then only I want to copy the files. For that, we can go for copy command. Similarly, we have add command. What is the purpose of add? Copy and add, both are used to copy the files from one path to another path. Whereas copy is going to copy from one path to another path, whereas add will copy from one location to another location, right? So what is the difference between the copy and add also we understood. Then run command, run instructions will execute while creating the Docker image. We can create multiple run instructions. Docker engine will process from top to bottom. Then what about CMD? CMD instructions will execute while creating the container. So if you write multiple run instructions, they will be processed from top to bottom. But CMD instructions, even if you write multiple, it will process only last CMD instruction. So that means there is no use of writing multiple CMD instructions in the Docker file. Then sample Docker file we have taken from maintainer, run and all. Okay. So then after, how to create a Docker file? So I have used VI editor. By using VI editor, I have created a Docker file, VI Docker file. Then I saved the content which I have in that file and I closed. Then I have created a Docker image. So what is that command that I'm using to create the Docker image? Docker build -t image name space dot. So this dot represents present working directory, in which location the Docker file is available and which content you want to keep in that Docker file, that we will specify by using Docker build -t image name space dot. So with this, our Docker image will be created. Once the Docker image is created, we can see what all the images available and we can run the Docker image. When we run the Docker image, then immediately Docker container will start. Inside the container, our application will be executed. So when the Docker file is available, we will build the Docker image. That Docker image we can run. Whenever we run the Docker image, Docker container will be created. So here, Docker build is a command. -t is represents the image name. What is the name that you want to give for the image that we are representing by using -t attribute? Whatever the name that we want to give for that, that will be represented by using -t option. Able to understand? -t represents the image name that we want to use for the image. What is the name that you want to use for the image that we are giving by using -t option? Okay, guys. Now, my image is created. I want to store my image in the Docker Hub account. So we have created an account in the Docker Hub. What is the Docker Hub? Docker Hub is nothing but the Docker registry. How can I push my Docker image to Docker Hub so that anybody can pull and they can run my image? Now, first let me connect to Docker machine. So my Docker machine is here. I have started this Docker machine. Take its public IP, connect it to the Docker VM and start the Docker engine. So we are using MobaXDROM. You can use Putty also to connect with this. IP address, username, EC2 user, SSH key, that is just private key, PEM file. Click on OK. Yeah. So with this, I'm able to connect with the machine. Let us start the Docker. Sudo service docker start. So with this, our Docker is started. Now, how to verify the Docker is started or not? Docker info. If you are able to get that information, that means your Docker is started. Now, Docker system prune -a. So what is the meaning of that? I want to delete all the unused containers and unused images from the machine. Docker system prune -a. I have deleted all the stopped containers and unused images from the system. Now, nothing is available in my machine. Docker images, nothing is available. Docker ps-a, nothing is available. Now, if you see in this location, in the present working directory, one Docker file is available. So this Docker file we have created in the last session. This is the content available in the Docker file from maintainer run cmd. So from means base image, maintainer means author, run means execute while creating the container, cmd means, run means execute while creating the image, cmd means execute while creating the container. Okay, now I want to build Docker image. Docker build -t image name. You can give any image name. You can give any name for that. My image one space dot. So Docker build -t image name space dot. So here -t that we are using to give the tag name. That is what is the name that you want to give for the image that we are representing by using -t. Dot represents current directory. So current directory content should be part of the image. And a Docker file is also available in the current directory. So with this, I'm building my Docker image. Yeah, successfully the image creation got completed. Right, Docker images. So we used Ubuntu. So it downloaded Ubuntu image. Using Ubuntu image, it created our image. Now we can run our image directly. Docker run. What is the name? My image one, or you can give image ID also. So when I run my image, as per the Docker file, last cmd instruction is executed. Cmd instructions will execute while creating the container. That is fine. Now I want to store my Docker image into Docker Hub account so that anybody can use my image. I want to store my Docker image into Docker Hub. So to store the Docker image into Docker Hub, first we need to establish the link between our machine and our Docker Hub account. So this machine is Linux machine. This machine is running in the AWS cloud, right? And I have an account in the Docker Hub. So from my Linux machine, I want to upload the Docker image to Docker Hub. Docker Hub is nothing but a Docker registry. Once the image is uploaded to the Docker Hub, anybody can pull the image and they can run the image. So for that, you need to first log in into the Docker Hub account, right? So how to log in? Here you need to execute a command called Docker login command. Execute a command called Docker login command. It is asking your Docker Hub account user name and password. Okay. Enter your account credentials. I'm entering my account credentials. I entered my username and password. Okay. Then you can see we got a confirmation that login success. So with this, what I have done, I logged in into my Docker Hub. I logged in into my Docker Hub account from my Docker machine. For that, which command I have used? For that, I have used a command called Docker login. It asked me username and password. I entered the username and password, then login success. So with this, we are able to connect to that. With it, we are able to connect to that. Now here, in order to do the image push, we need to tag the image. That means what is the version of the image that we need to specify. Okay, how to do that tagging? Observe. Docker tag. What is the image name is available? My image one is available. So existing image name available as my image one. I want to tag it with Ashok /my image one. So in the Docker Hub account, I want to store the image name like this. So this image belongs to Ashok IT company like this. So Docker tag my image one to Ashok IT my image one like this. You can give any name for that tag, right? Once we have created that tag, now you can see the Docker images. Yes. Initially, we created my image one. That my image one is tagged to Ashok IT / my image one. Once the tagging is completed, then we will go for Docker push command. Docker push Ashok IT / my image one. Docker push Ashok IT / my image one. It is used to push the Docker image to Docker Hub account. Docker Hub, right? As a public image, we are pushing our Docker image to Docker Hub so that anybody can pull our image and they can run our image. Okay, so here, let me go for this. Docker push Ashok IT / my image one. Using the tag latest, the image refers to the repository. It is pushing that image to Docker Hub. Yes, my image is pushed to Docker Hub. Go there and refresh. Can you see the image is reflecting in the Docker Hub? Is it having my image now? Ashok IT / my image one. Few seconds ago, I have pushed this image into Docker Hub account. From my Linux machine, I'm able to push the Docker image to Docker Hub by using Docker push command. After doing the push, now you can see the image is reflecting. The image is reflecting. Okay, guys. So now do you understand how to push Docker image to Docker Hub? Now do you understand how to push Docker image to Docker Hub? So what are the commands that I have used? Okay. Here, login into Docker Hub account from Docker machine. So by using a command Docker login, we need to enter correct username and password. Enter your Docker Hub account credentials. Are you clear with my point? We have a Docker file. By using the Docker file, we created a Docker image. Once the Docker image is created, I want to push the image. For that, I'm using Docker login. Tag the Docker image. Tag Docker image. So how we are tagging? Docker tag image name and tag name. So example, I have given Docker tag my image one. I'm tagging to Ashok IT my image one, like this. With my company name, I'm giving the tag. You can give the tag name as like this also. My image one dot my image one colon latest. So which represents it is a latest image. The tag name is which name you want, which version of the image we are pushing. So generally tag name represents the version name. Like this, you can give that version also. So here I'm giving that as tag name as Ashok IT slash my image one. So once this tagging is completed, push Docker image. So how I am pushing that Docker image? To push the Docker image, we are using Docker push tag name. So whatever the tag name we are giving for the image, with that tag name, we are pushing the Docker image, Docker push tag name. So when I see that image is reflecting in the Docker Hub, with this we are able to push the Docker image to Docker Hub account. Okay, I will do this process once again. Observe carefully. Now, okay guys, let me delete everything. Docker system prune -a. Yes, everything is deleted from my machine. Nothing is available. Just I have a Docker file. So with this Docker file, I want to create a Docker image and I want to tag that image and I want to push that image. Right? So first step, let us create a Docker image. Docker build -t image name. I'm giving this name as my image 2 space dot. Docker build -t image name space dot. So with this, Docker image will be created. With this, Docker image will be created. Once the Docker image is created, you can verify the Docker image is running successfully or not. Docker image, Docker run image name. Yes, the image is running successfully. So our image creation is success. Our Docker file is valid. Whatever the image is created, I want to push that image to Docker Hub. So first we need to connect with the Docker Hub account. To connect with the Docker Hub account, we will use Docker login. It is asking our username. It is asking our Docker Hub account username. So I'm giving my Docker Hub account username and my account password. You have created account. You need to provide your account credentials here. Incorrect username or password. Docker login, username, password. Yeah, login success. I'm able to connect with my Docker Hub account. Now, see the images which I have. I have an image called my image 2. I want to tag that image. So to tag that image, we will go for a Docker tag my image 2 Ashok IT slash my image 2. So for every my image, I want to represent Ashok IT. So my image 2 is the name of the image. Ashok IT slash my image 2. With this, I'm able to do the image tagging. After doing the image tagging, we can verify Docker images. Yes, my image is available and my tagged image is also available. Basically, tagging means giving a version. So which version of the image that you want to push? Image 1.0, image 1.1, image latest. Like that, we can give the tag. Tagging nothing but versioning. So once it is done, then I want to push it. Push that, we will go for Docker push the tag name. What is the tag name? Ashok IT slash my image 2. So with this, we are doing the push. When we do the push, that image will be uploaded to Docker Hub account. So in the real time, when we are doing the application build and deployment, so Jenkins will create the Docker image and Jenkins will push the Docker image to Docker Hub account. Now, refresh our Docker Hub account repositories. Am I able to push my second image also? First image pushed 7 minutes ago. Second image pushed a few seconds ago. Are we able to do the push? Are we able to do the push now? Anybody who started the Docker machine, can you pull my image? Anybody who is having Docker machine running, you can do Docker pull Ashok IT slash my image 2. You will be able to pull my image. You will be able to run my image because my image is public. Yeah, Vanita, you can pull that image. Whatever the image I push it to my Docker Hub account, you can pull my image and you can run my image. So anybody who is having Docker installed in their machine, they can pull my Docker image. It is available in the Docker Hub and they can run my Docker image also. Are you clear with my point? Yeah, people are able to pull it and they are able to run it. Docker run image name. Whatever the image you pulled, you can just run that image. Whatever the image you have, you pulled it and you can just run that. My image is uploaded to Docker Hub. That is a public image. Now, anybody can pull my image and anybody can run my image. Yes, people confirmed. They are able to pull and they are able to run it. Perfect, guys. Now, see, in my system, I will delete everything. Docker system prune -a. Okay, everything is deleted. Everything is deleted. Now you see Docker images, nothing is available. Docker ps-a, nothing is available. Now, can I pull my image from the Docker Hub? Can you guys tell me the command? I want to pull my image from Docker Hub to my machine and I want to run that image. Can you guys tell me what is the command? Yes, you can do Docker pull and then you can do Docker run. If you directly do Docker run, it will check for the image in the local. If the image is not available in the local, then it will pull the image from the Docker Hub, then it is going to run that. So currently, how many images are available in my machine? Currently, how many images are available in my machine? Come on, guys. No images are available in my machine. I have cloned, I have cleaned everything. I have pruned everything. That means I have deleted everything. Now, let us see Docker run Ashok IT slash my image 2. I am trying to run the image. In my system, that image is available. In my system, that image is not available. I'm trying to run the image. That image is not available in my system. See what happens. Unable to find the image locally. It is pulling from the Docker Hub and it is running. So whenever you execute the run command with the image name, first it is trying to find that image in the local, but it is not able to find that image in the local. Then it is pulling the image from the Docker Hub. It is downloaded that image from the Docker Hub. So by default, it is considering my image with the tag as :latest. If I don't give :latest, by default, that will be considered as latest. Whenever you are tagging, you can give the version also for your image by using :1.0, :1.2, something like this. If you don't give anything, it will take by default as :latest. So when I run that image, container is created, that container executed CMD instruction. So now, am I able to run the image which is available in the Docker Hub account? Am I able to run the image? Am I able to run the image? Yes or no, guys? Yes, we are able to run the image which is available. Okay. Perfect, guys. Hello, Mr. SD. What is your problem, sir? Repeat the question. What question is there? My question is, are we able to run the Docker image which is available in the Docker Hub? Okay. Yeah. So are we able to run the Docker image which is available in the Docker Hub? Yes, we use the Docker run command. When I use run command, first it is checking for the image in the local. If it is available, it will run directly. If it is not available, it will download from the Docker Hub and it will run that Docker image. Is this clear for everybody? So with this, are you clear how to write a Docker file, how to create the Docker image, how to push the Docker image to Docker Hub, how to pull the Docker image, how to run the Docker image? Are you comfortable? Ria is asking a question. How can we save our image locally if it deleted before pushing the Docker Hub? If you delete your Docker image, you need to recreate the Docker image by using Docker file. Image creation is just one command, right? Even if you lost your image, no problem, because by using Docker build command, you can create your image within fraction of seconds. You don't need to worry about it. You should have the Docker file. If you have the Docker file, any number of times you can create the Docker images. That's not an issue. Okay, guys. Yeah. Yep, tagging is required before pushing the image. Without tagging, we can't push that image. Once the image is created, image should be tagged, then only it is eligible for the pushing. So that's why after image creation is completed, I logged in into my Docker Hub account and I tagged my image with my, what I can say. So with this name, once the tagging is completed, then I am pushing that image, right? So in the interview, they may ask you a question. Can I create a Docker image with a file which is not a Docker file? I have changed the file name. Assume that I have changed the file name. Then can we create the Docker file, Docker image from that or not? Let us see. ls-l Docker file is available. I want to rename this file. So mv, I will give this name as sbi_docker file. Okay. Sorry, mv, original name is the Docker file, and I want to give this name as SBI Docker file. I have renamed it. I have renamed my Docker file. So when the file name is changed, can I create a Docker image with this file? Let me prune everything before this. Docker system prune -a. Yeah, everything is pruned. That means my system is clean, nothing is available. Now I have changed file name. So can I use this file to create a Docker image? Can I use this file to create the Docker image? Earlier, what command we used? Earlier we used Docker build command -t space image name. So I am giving image3 space dot. So now when I execute docker build -t image name space dot, it failed. Why? Unable to execute in the docker path, the docker file, no such file or directory. So when I execute this command, when I give the dot, it is checking in the current directory for the docker file with this name. That is the default name for the docker file. But in our current working directory, that default file is not available. We have changed that file. So how to build a docker image with the user defined file name? How to build a docker image with the user defined file name? So whenever I go for docker build -t image name with the dot, in the current directory, it will search for a file with this name. But in the current directory with this name, no file is available. My file is modified. How I have modified that file? By using mv command, I renamed that file. Mv command I used to rename that file. In this scenario, how to build a docker image? See here, docker build -f file name. So what is the file name available? For the docker build command, you need to pass that file name by using -f, then -t, then image name, then dot. Are you clear? So whenever you give the dot, it will search in the current working directory. Current working directory content will be part of the docker image. By default, it will search for the file with this name. When you change the file name, you need to pass that file name to the build command by using -f. Now you see the docker image is getting created. So can we change the docker file name, guys? The default name is docker file. Can we change the file name also? Can we create the image by using the user defined file name? Yes or no? You understood? Yes. So whenever you change the file name, you need to give that file as an input for the build command. Okay. So can we change the docker file name? That is the question. Can we use our own name for docker file? Can we change can we use our own, can we use user defined name for the docker file? Can we use user defined name for the docker file? Yes, we can do that. The answer is yes. Yes, we can do it. So now at that time, what we need to do? At that time, what we need to do? So here we need to specify docker build -f file name -t image name space dot. So like this, you can create the image with the changed file name. You can create the image with the changed file name. Perfect. Yeah, good guys. So I hope with this we are clear with basic Docker file creation, Docker image creation, Docker container creation, Docker image tagging, Docker image push to Docker Hub, pulling the Docker image. Shall I move on to next concept? We need to understand the remaining keywords available in the Docker file. We need to understand the remaining keywords which are available in the Docker file. Okay? Yes, perfect. Someone is asking, can you open the Docker file? Yeah, this is the Docker file. We have from maintainer run cmd. From is used to define the base image. Maintainer is used to define the author. Run is used to specify instruction to execute while creating the image. CMD is used to specify the instructions while running the image. This is the Docker file which I have used. Completed. Yeah. Now, next one. Guys, we have another keywords in the Docker file that we need to understand. So there are several keywords available. We understood up to these keywords. Okay. Next one, entry point. Entry point, env, label, work directory, expose, volume. Like that, there are some other keywords also available. Now let us see what is entry point. Okay. Entry point instructions will execute while creating the container. It is used to execute the instruction. It is used to execute instruction while creating container. It is used to execute the instructions while creating the container. Okay, guys. Now here, it is used to execute. It is used to execute the instructions while creating the container. So for example, when my container is creating, I want to send one message. When my container is created, I want to send one message, entry point echo, container created successfully. Container create successfully. So like this, when you want to execute some instructions, when the container is creating, then we can go for entry point. Suppose my application is available as a jar file. I want to run the jar file when my container is creating. Then we can go for entry point, Java jar file name. Okay. The jar file will be available in the target folder, springboot.jar file. So like this, we can use entry point. That entry point is used to execute some instructions while creating the container. So CMD also doing the same thing. Entry point also doing the same thing. CMD instructions also will execute while creating the container. Entry point instructions also will execute while creating the container. Sir, what is the difference between that CMD and entry point? What is the difference between CMD and entry point? What is the difference between CMD and entry point? CMD instructions we can override. We can override the CMD instructions while creating the container. Entry point instructions we cannot override while creating the container. CMD instructions we can override while creating container. Entry point instructions we cannot override. Entry point instructions we cannot override. What is the meaning of overriding? In my Docker file, I have one CMD instruction. In my Docker file, I have one CMD instruction. When I am running the Docker image, I can change this instruction. While running the Docker container, when I'm creating the container, I can tell to the Docker run command, execute another CMD instruction, right? So in the Docker file, I have one CMD instruction. While running the Docker container, I can pass another CMD instruction. That is called overriding. So CMD instructions will execute while creating the container. Entry point instructions also will execute while creating the container. So generally, to execute the jar file, to execute the Python script file, to copy the file from the source to the Tomcat server location, right? Once the is copied, start the server. So any kind of things that you want to do when your container is starting, then you will go for entry point. What is the difference between run and CMD? Run instructions will execute while creating the image. CMD instructions will execute while creating the container. Entry point instructions also will execute while creating the container. CMD instructions we can override in the runtime, whereas entry point instructions we cannot override in the runtime. Okay, next one. So there is another keyword called work directory. There is another keyword called work dir. It is used to specify our working directory. It is used to specify working directory for the image and the container. It is used to specify working directory for image and container. So where our code is available, from where we need to execute our instructions, where the code is available, from where we need to execute our instructions, that we are going to specify by using work directory. So now the syntax that we are going to specify, that work directory, I will specify /app/user, something like this. So in my CMD instructions will be available, right? But to execute the CMD instruction, I want to navigate to this directory. So whenever the image is creating, whenever the container is creating, I want to change the directory structure. So my project jar file is copied to this directory. Hey CMD, you go to this work directory and you execute that jar file. Okay, so if you want to change the directory when the image is creating or when the container is creating, then you can set from which directory they have to perform the operations by using work dir. So project jar file is available in the target folder. From the target folder, I copy it to Tomcat web apps folder. Now I should go to web apps folder. I should go to Tomcat folder and I need to run the server. So while creating the image or while creating the container, if you want to do the changes in the directory path, then you can use work dir. Work dir means /app/user. Anything, any directory that you want to use, you can use it. So here, the Docker instructions I want to execute from the particular directory in the machine. Then we can set that path by using work dir. It is used to specify working directory for the image and container. Are you clear? Are you clear? Next one, env. Env keyword is available. It is used to specify environment variables. For example, for this, I want to specify where is Java available in the machine, where is Maven available in the machine. That can be specified by using env. Env is used to set environment variables. Is used to set environment variables. Env is used to set environment variables. For example, I want to set where is Java. So Java is available somewhere etc softwares/jdk, something like this. So I want to set environment variables in my Docker file. To set the environment variables for the Docker file, we will use env. Env is used to set environment variables. Work directory is used to specify working directory for the image. Entry point is used to execute the instructions while creating the container. Okay. Next one, there is another keyword that is called expose. Expose. It is used to specify on which port number our Docker container is running. So here our Docker container is running. In the Docker container, our application will be running. On which port number our Docker container is running, we have to specify that port number in the expose. So whatever the port number we use in the expose, that will not be used by the container. Expose is just like a documentation command. When somebody look at the Docker file, they should understand on which port container will execute. So if container is executing on the 8080 port, we will configure expose 8080. If a container is running on 9090, we'll specify the port number as 9090. So like this, we are going to use expose. It is used to specify on which port number, our Docker container will execute. Our Docker container will run. Rahul, please stop your camera. Right. Expose is a keyword. What is the purpose of this expose keyword? The expose keyword is used to specify on which port number our Docker container will run. So that means our application will be executing in the container, right? So as we have seen in the virtualization and containerization, so in my machine, I have the Docker engine. Using the Docker engine, I will create a container. So this container will be running on the port number 8080. Assume that it is running on the port number 8080. It is running on the port number 7070. It is running on the port number 6060 or 9090, something like this. So every container is using a different port number. So for every container creation, we use a Docker image. For Docker image creation, we will use a Docker file. In the Docker file, we have to specify which port number our container will use to run our application. So by using expose keyword, we are going to specify container running port number. By using expose, we can use a container running port number. Are you clear? Are you guys clear with my point? What is the purpose of expose keyword in the Docker file? What is the purpose of expose keyword in the Docker file? To specify on which port number our Docker container is going to run. And the next one, there is a keyword called arg keyword, arguments. It is used to take the dynamic values. It is used to remove by using arg. By using arg, we can take dynamic values from CLI. Okay. It is used to remove hard-coded values in the Docker file. It is used to remove hard-coded values in Docker file. Example, I want to take the latest code from the Git repository. For that, I will use run git clone repo URL. I want to use the repo URL. Okay. So here git clone, I want to clone the code from the particular branch, -b $branch. So here I will specify arg branch. So branch I specified as the argument. So I want to clone the repository. In that repository, there are multiple branches available in the GitHub. I want to take the code from the particular branch. For that, I will give git clone -b branch name with the repository URL. So this branch name, I don't want to hard code. That's why I declared that branch name as an argument. When I am running the command, I will pass like this: docker build -t the image name and I will supply double hyphen build hyphen R branch is equal to master. So here when I have space dot. So whenever I am creating a Docker image, I am passing the build argument branch is equal to master. Then this master value will be stored to this branch. That branch will be used here. Then it will clone the code from the GitHub repository master branch. So sometimes I want to create the image with the master branch. Sometimes I want to create with the develop branch. So I don't want to hard code that value. I want to take the dynamic input to create my image. So to take the dynamic input for the Docker image, we are going to use a command called arg command. By using arg, we can take dynamic values from the CLI. So CLI means this, what we are using to execute our commands. This is called CLI. From this CLI, I want to pass dynamic values to create my Docker image. Example, branch. I don't want to hard code that branch name. I want to read the branch from the CLI. Using that branch, I want to clone the code. Once the code is available, then I can compile and package, then I can build the image. So like this we can use arg tag, arg command. Could you please read it? What is arg? Could you please read what is arg? Completed? You understand what is arg? Guys, you understand what is arg? Yeah. Next one, there is another keyword called user. So with which user account you want to create that, you want to execute the Docker instructions. So currently we are running the Docker commands from EC to user. So with which user account you want to process your Docker file instructions, you can specify that by using user. We can set user for creating the image or for running the container. It is used to specify username for creating image or container. So example, I want to create one user called Docker user. Now I want to process these instructions of the Docker file using that user account. Then you can specify that. If you want to perform the operations with the root user, then you can specify user root. So like this, whatever the user account you want to use to execute your Docker file instructions, for that we need to use this user. It is used to specify username for creating the image and for creating the container. It is used to specify username for creating the image or for creating the container. Are you guys able to follow me? Are you guys able to follow me? What is the purpose of user? Right. Next one, the last one, that is value. It is used to specify Docker volume storage location. It is used to specify Docker volume storage location. Okay. Now, volumes are used for storage purpose. Volumes are used for storage purpose. Sir, what is storage and what is this value? Whenever our Docker image is executing, it will generate some data. Assume that my Docker image is executed as a container. So here, this container is started, my application is running. Once my application is stopped, whatever the container is available, whatever the database data is available, everything will be deleted. So containers are stateless. Docker containers are stateless. So once your container is stopped, you will lose the data which is part of that container. So to make the containers stateful, even if my container is deleted, I should be able to access the data. So that's why our Docker volumes will be mapped to Our Docker volumes will be mapped to volumes. Our Docker containers will be mapped to volumes. So whatever the data that is generating by the Docker container, that data should be stored in the volume. When the Docker container is deleted, no problem, because our data will be available in the volume. Are you guys getting my point? Docker volumes. Docker volumes are used for storage purpose. So we are going to discuss volumes concept separately. Now we are giving the just overview. What is the purpose of that keyword? Docker volume keyword is used to specify the volume location. So in which location that volume is available, we can specify that by using volume keyword. So why we need to use that volume? To store the container data. By default, Docker containers are stateless. That means if the container is executing, then only data will be available. If the container is stopped, then data will not be available. So even if the container is stopped, I want to maintain that data. I don't want to lose that data. Then that Docker container should be mapped to a volume. So to specify the volume location, we are going to use volume keyword. So Docker volumes concept is there, how to create the volume, how to store the data, how to recover the data, all those things we are going to see practically. So just I'm giving the overview of the Dockerfile keywords. Yes. Are you clear? Let us see the keywords now. Yeah, we have seen one more keyword called user keyword. User. It is used to set the username to execute our Dockerfile instructions. With which user account you want to execute your Dockerfile instructions, we can specify that by using user keyword. Next one is volume keyword. It is used to specify the storage location for the Docker container. Expose. Expose is used to specify on which port number our container will run. When somebody look at our Docker file, they should understand on which port number Docker container will execute. Is it 8080 or 9090, something like that. Workdir. Workdir is used to set the working directory location. From which directory you want to process your commands, that you can specify by using work directory. Label directory is used to take the dynamic values from the terminal. So to remove the hard-coded values, we are going for the label. Sorry, not label. This is arg. Arg. Right? Arg, not label. Arg. So arg command is used to take the dynamic values from the user. And the next one is env. Environment variables we are going to specify. Next, entry point. Entry point is used to specify the command that should be executed while container is creating. Then CMD. CMD means it is used to execute the instructions while creating the container. CMD is used to execute the instructions while creating the container. Run is also used to execute the instruction while creating the container. Okay. While creating the image run instruction, while creating the container CMD instruction and entry point. Copy and add. To copy the files from one path to another path. Add command will support for the URL also. Maintainer to specify the author information. From, it is used to specify the base image. Can you guys see this? What are the keywords available to write a Docker file? Come on. Are you clear with this Docker file? Yeah. Read the keywords once again. From, maintainer, copy, add, run, CMD, entry point, env, arg, workdir, expose, volume, user. Expose, volume, and user. From, it is used to specify. From is used to specify base image. From is used to specify base image. Maintainer is used to specify the author. Maintainer is used to specify author. And copy, it is used to specify the copy files from one path to another path. It is used to specify one path to another path. Add command is also used to copy from one path to another path. From one path to another path. Okay. But add command will support for the URL. Next one, run. Run is used to execute some instructions while creating Docker image. CMD is also used to execute the instructions, but while creating the container. In the Docker file, we can write multiple run instructions, all will be processed. But CMD instructions only, last one will be processed. Entry point is also used to execute the instructions while creating the container. CMD instructions we can override while executing the command by passing the new command. Whereas entry point instructions we cannot override. env is used to specify the environment variables. env is used to specify the environment variables. Okay, guys. env is used to specify the environment variables, whereas arg is used to take the dynamic values. Arg is used to take the dynamic values. Fine. Next one, work directory. Work directory is used to specify the working location. From which directory we want to execute the commands, we can specify that by using work directory. Expose command is used to specify on which port number our Docker container will execute. Okay. Volume command is used to specify the container storage location. User command, with which user you want to process the Docker instructions. And we have label also. Label is used to specify the data in the Docker file in the form of key value. So label is available. It is used to specify the data in the form of key and value in the Docker file. Label is used for metadata, right? So whatever the data that I want to represent in the Docker file in the form of key and value, like what is the volume name that we are going to use? What is the image name that we are going to use? What is the service that we are going to use in the Docker that we are going to specify by using label? Label is used to add metadata to the Docker objects. Label keyword is available. It is used to add metadata. key value. That's it. It is used to add. It is used to add meta data to Docker file, or I can say Docker objects. Label is used to add the metadata to the Docker objects. For example, I want to specify label. Some name is equal to our SBI image, something like this. I want to specify some information in the form of key and value. Okay, so those labels will be added there. Label is used to specify the metadata to the Docker objects in key value format. In key value format that we can use for label. Perfect. How to optimize the size of the Docker file? Yes, so we are in the still beginning of the Docker, right? Once we are able to write the Docker files, once we are able to do the Dockering for all the applications, then I will tell you how to optimize the size. Okay? Yes. All good, guys? Are you able to understand all the keywords that are there in the Docker file? What is the purpose of which keyword? Understanding the Docker file keywords is very important, because by using these keywords, we should write the Docker file. And in the interview, they are going to ask about these keywords only. And they will ask you to write the Docker file by sharing your screen in the interview. So you should have idea on that part. Fine. Good. Thank you. In tomorrow's session, we will understand how to implement a Docker file for Spring Boot application, for normal Java application, for Python application, and for React application. So with this knowledge, whatever we have learned related to Docker file, by using this, we will write the Docker file for the Spring Boot application, normal Java application, Python application, as well as React application. So we understood keywords. Now, when to use which keyword, how to write the Docker file, those things we will discuss in the tomorrow session. Okay? Thank you.